Gervonta Davis has started training for his fight against Jake Paul. He's focusing on speed drills, quick footwork, and improving his uppercuts with pad work and resistance training. Tank is also doing intense conditioning to stay strong and fast in the ring. Every session is designed to make him sharper, faster, and ready for this high-profile matchup. Now, this is a fight that stirred up tension in the UFC world, and everyone has something to say. Terrence Crawford discussed the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight immediately after it was announced. He said the size difference is a big deal. Jake is moving up from a smaller weight to fight a bigger guy like Davis, and that could decide the fight before it really starts. Crawford also mentioned how the fight might go early on. He said if Jake lands a clean punch at the start, it could change everything. He didn't explain every detail, but it's clear that size and power will matter a lot, and one punch could make a big difference. He left some mystery about how close the fight will be. Crawford said Davis will have a hard time getting inside Jake's reach. He didn't predict every round, but made it clear the fight could change quickly once they start throwing punches.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis, they just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over.
Brendan and Brian from The Fighter and the Kid also shared their thoughts on Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. They focused a lot on the size difference between the two. They mentioned Jake is a lot bigger and stronger, while Davis is much smaller, and that could make a huge difference in the fight.
For today,
Jake Paul posted this too, yep. So you know it's confirmed.
So Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis on Netflix.
Interesting.
But it says exhibition bout, which I hate, but whatever.
Well, Jake's a lot.
Yeah, I don't think they could get it sanctioned because A, how many fights Gervonta has, then B, the size difference.
Yeah.
Before I say any comment about it, my question is, what's the rules? And like, are they going to actually try and knock each other out? Because it's going to be a glorified sparring match. I'm not watching, dude. I don't give a fuck.
Jake's going to have a hard time hitting him.
Yeah.
You know?
Big time. Gervonta's so fast and skilled.
Gervonta's going to eat his
I thought
guts.
Jake was going to fight Anthony Joshua. That seemed
that was actually getting.
That sounded more interesting.
Craziest idea I've ever heard. Jake Paul trying to fight Anthony Joshua is, you know.
They weren't sure how serious the fight would actually be because it's called an exhibition. They wondered if the fighters would really go all out or if there were rules that limited their actions. That added a layer of mystery, and they said it might feel more like a sparring match than a whole fight.
Not a sanctioned professional bout. This means the fight will not count towards either fighter's professional records.
So it's still being finalized.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that.
What is so behind the scenes? You think there are things like, hey, we don't punch each other in the jaw.
Yep. Or don't go. We can punch in the face, but don't go for broke. Like, don't knock me out.
Really?
Yeah. It's an exhibition.
That's
so
not very interesting to me.
No. Until I find the rule sets, but when I hear exhibition, I'm like, okay.
They also talked about how fast and skilled Davis is despite his size. Even though he's smaller, his speed could make it tricky for Jake to land punches easily. They didn't reveal exactly who might win, but they made it clear that size alone doesn't guarantee a straightforward outcome.
Jake is bodied up, man.
He's big.
Yeah.
Probably has 100 pounds on Gervonta.
Maybe. I'd say Gervonta probably walks at 150.
Oh, he's so small.
He's so small. I mean, he's really small. Bring up Gervonta Davis next to Floyd Mayweather because I've seen Floyd in person and he's tiny. You've seen Floyd in person?
I've worked with Gervonta and Floyd.
Tiny.
Well, Floyd likely has shoes on there.
Oh, dude, he's so small.
He's tiny, guys.
Yeah. I mean, he's so small. Wow.
Bob Arum weighed in on the fight and made it clear he doesn't see it as a fair matchup. He focused on the huge size difference, saying Jake is basically twice as big, and questioned how such a fight could even make sense. He didn't go into strategies or who might win, just pointed out that on paper it seems extremely lopsided.
You're not going to watch Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis when that happens?
No, isn't that stupid? I mean, Jake Paul is twice the size. I mean, how do you make a match like that?
Steven Espinoza didn't shy away from talking about Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. When asked about the fight, Espinoza hinted that Tank will handle business and then move on to other major opponents. It wasn't said outright, but the way he described it suggested he doesn't view Jake as a long-term threat, more of a temporary stop before bigger challenges. He positioned the fight as something essential for entertainment, but the way he looked beyond it told you what he really thinks. Tank comes out of this, and the story continues with him chasing even bigger fights.
Next year, I'm talking your Gervonta Davises. I know he's got the Jake Paul thing coming up. Obviously, a Shakur Stevenson, Dimitri Bivol, Usyk. What are you looking forward to as maybe the fan? Because obviously, there's still a love for the sport there, separate from the business.
6 of the top 10, by the way. Just I'll say it.
I thought it was 6, but I didn't want to in case I knocked you down.
No, right. Look, I do believe after Tank takes this little detour, that he'll be on a tour of big fights. I know he wants to finish some business with Lamont Roach and then potential, big fights.
When it came to Antonio Tarver, he brought a very different lens to the fight. He focuses on the size difference and how unusual it is to see two fighters so mismatched physically. He's curious about how it will look in the ring and what kind of dynamics it creates, emphasizing that it could change the aesthetics and feel of the fight without giving away who might win.
I don't know. They say it's an exhibition. So that's the first thing stood out.
Well, they're both going to be able to win, though.
When they announced it's an exhibition.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big size differential.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know how that's going to look in the ring from aesthetic standpoint.
Yeah.
We used to seeing guys same size, same stature. This might be a little weird. Seeing a guy much bigger than another guy, and then they're fighting and competing. So.
Yeah. Tarver also points out that much of the criticism is landing on Tank rather than Jake. He frames Jake as a businessman who knows how to sell fights, while Tank is the champion, expected to carry the sport and prove himself. The heat on Tank is because people hold him to a higher standard as a pro fighter, making the matchup feel even more pressured for him.
Hey, not Jake.
Well, Jake a businessman, and everybody know that. You know what I mean? But Gervonta Davis is a fighter. He's a champion fighter, and but it's a great event, man. It's gonna be huge. Netflix is involved, and anytime you got those big players involved, it's gonna sell. So they're gonna make them.
He leaves the outcome uncertain, noting that being bigger doesn't automatically decide the fight. He wonders whether Jake can handle Tank's skill, and if the size difference will let him control the action. Tarver keeps it open-ended, creating tension without spoiling the result, leaving viewers to imagine how the fight will unfold.
Do numbers and everything. I just don't know how the fight's gonna unfold. A lot of times when you that much bigger than a guy, you can just hold him off. You know what I mean? Is he just swinging and all that? But I don't know, bro. I have to see them in the ring and see how.
Moving from Antonio Tarver's take, Shakur Stevenson gives a more analytical and confident perspective on the fight. He stresses the size and experience gap, pointing out that Tank has been boxing his whole life and Jake is still relatively new to the sport. Stevenson makes it clear that in his view, Jake doesn't realistically have a shot against Tank, highlighting that Tank's skill, experience, and power make him overwhelmingly favored.
Between these two guys.
I mean, size will play some part of the fight, but if I'm thinking like I'm Tank, I'm probably just gonna go out there and try to outbox him and use my knowledge and IQ against him. So I can see Tank just outboxing him and making it real easy.
Is there any way you could, any realistic or legitimate way in your mind you could see Jake Paul winning a fight against Tank?
No.
No way.
Nope.
Not a lot of people have talked about Jake and said he's got good power. Not even and I get anything could technically happen, but you don't even see a realistic shot where he could land one big punch, and Tank being so much smaller, he just can't handle the power.
Nah, not at all. I think Tank is he's been boxing his whole life. He's been boxing since a kid, so I doubt like that's gonna be an issue or problem. I think Jake is good for where he's at. but I think it's just level.
He predicts that Tank will likely win by decision rather than knockout. Stevenson doesn't see Jake landing a decisive punch or overcoming Tank's experience and size. He emphasizes that while Jake is good for his level, boxing has tiers, and this fight clearly belongs to a higher level.
Do you see a more likely chance that Tank wins by decision or by knockout?
By decision. I mean, that guy's too big. I don't think that he's just going to knock that guy out. So I see him like outboxing him.
Could you see a realistic possibility where Tank could knock him out? Although more likely that it is, like you just said, a decision.
Nah, I don't see him knocking him out.
Stevenson also touches on the mindset of champions, explaining how pride and the desire to prove themselves can influence fighters' decisions about taking big fights. He acknowledges the business side of boxing, recognizing why Jake would take a high-profile fight like this, but maintains that competitively, Tank has the clear advantage.
No.
Will you watch, Shakur? I mean,
No.
obviously, no?
Hell no. Nah, that ain't really like, I mean, like I said, here's the thing. Like, I got two sides of me when it comes down to, I got a business side, then I got a competitor side. And from the competitive aspect, it don't excite me for me to be like, okay, I want to watch it. But from the business side, I understand.
Michael Bisping came in with a much harsher take on the fight. He frames it almost entirely around the massive size difference between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, calling it bully tactics, and arguing that it's a mismatch that shouldn't even be sanctioned. Bisping repeatedly points out that Jake outweighs Tank by anywhere from 65 to 92 pounds, has a 9-inch reach advantage, and stands 6'1" compared to Tank's 5'5". He sees this as absurd for a supposedly real fight, comparing it to going after someone far smaller in real life and calling it laughable.
If I'm not mistaken, a 92-pound weight difference, almost a 100-pound weight difference. It's insane. Let's say he comes in at 200 pounds. It's still a 65-pound weight advantage, which is absolutely ridiculous. How can you be out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet and then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you? That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real.
He criticizes Jake's claim of taking on real challenges, pointing out that Paul's past opponents, including Mike Tyson, Nate Diaz, and others, were either way older, past their prime, or underpowered. Bisping stresses that if Jake wanted respect as a legitimate fighter, he would be choosing opponents closer to his level in size, skill, and experience, not world-class boxers who are dramatically smaller.
I just don't understand why this fight is happening. I get it. A lot of people are going to tune in. A lot of people are going to tune in for the spectacle. They're going to see if David versus Goliath can really happen, because this fight is David versus Goliath, not Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. That would have been someone that's a bit smaller taking on Anthony Joshua. This is David versus Goliath. This, as Khabib would say,
this is #1 bullshit.
I'm telling you right now, this is embarrassing. What are you doing? I always said, when I was on Jake Paul for taking on the likes of Nate Diaz and Mike Tyson and Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren. And Ben Askren, by the way, is making a great recovery. So Ben, keep fighting hard, brother. It's good to see your little videos and your updates. It looks like he's getting much more healthy and putting the weight back on, which is tremendous to see. But he was going out there taking on non-boxers. And he was going out there taking on Mike Tyson that's pushing 60 years old, for crying out loud. But at the same time,
Bisping's prediction isn't about who will win. He's focused on the ethics and logic of the fight. He frames it as a financial and entertainment play rather than a genuine sporting contest. And he leaves the audience questioning whether Gervonta even has a meaningful path to victory, given Jake's extreme size and reach advantage.
You think Gervonta Davis actually has a chance of winning? I guess there could be be a path to victory. He could be light on his feet. He could dance around. He could get in and out. He could use the speed and pick him apart and all that type of jazz. But even if he was to do that, it's still a joke. It's still embarrassing. It's still absolutely laughable. I could go on all day. I've said enough. I'll leave it.
Gervonta Davis is gearing up for this fight, and predictions are all over the place right now. Nobody really knows which way this one will go, and that uncertainty is keeping fans talking non-stop. What do you think? Does this fight actually make sense, or is it just a smokescreen? Let us know in the comments below.